BJ Nix, are you here?
Present.
Present. Spoonie, Timothy Spoonie.
Present, sir.
Margaret and Mary. Do we have a Margaret and Mary?
Yes.
Cool.
And the margaritas.
All right. Class here. We're ready. Let's go.
Yes, let's go.
Okay.
This is the time to line up behind your team, to support your team, have faith in that team.
It's peaks and valleys. It can't always be good. And as I always tell people, you're never as good as you think you are, and you're never as bad as you think you are. But when we do go about
house call. Trevon Diggs, pick 6. It's coming. They see it. Knocked away. Oh, Gregory. Hurts in trouble. 3 Cowboys wrap him up, make it 4. Micah Parsons is unblockable.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are in the building. We are in the building. I don't know where Spoonie's at. I don't know. Not sure.
He'll probably pop in later.
He'll probably be here later. I am on the road. I'm out here mobile. I'll be honest with y'all. I'm at a particular location that yesterday said, "Oh, you're good to go." And then I showed up, plugged up, did everything, and they were like, "Actually, you do some emails, do this, do that, and everything else." And I'm like, "Okay, bet." So I'm on the patio on my phone. So bear with me, if you will.
There he is.
There's Spoon. But with that being said, I hope everyone's having a fantastic week. I'm gonna spin the. Oh, wait! I got it right. Let me spin the block. Here, I'm down here. I'm on the phone. I'm sorry. I don't know how long my phone's gonna last either. But I'm behind the 8-ball. Turn down just a little bit. The lo-fi, a little bit. Lo-fi just a little bit down. A little bit down. There we go. With that being said, how is everybody's Wednesday going? Spoonie, you just showed up. So let's start with Spoon.
Tiring. Very tiring, but I'm home. I'm here. I'm just
that part. Mary is off the. Well, here's the thing. Mary's off injured reserve.
I'm off. I'm
no
off.
Hat.
It's gone. Yeah. It still itches, but I'm good to go.
Stab it a little bit. And I got at the buzzer. Girl dad. Let's go.
Whoop whoop.
Yes.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah. So first of all, for those that haven't seen on Twitter yet, we are having baby number 4, final try for us, final baby, and we have 3 boys already, 7, 3, and a 1.5-year-old, and now we have a baby girl coming this time. So about to join the girl dad family. So if you guys have any girl tips for me, let me know, because I only know the boy stuff right now. So it'll be fun for us. Also,
spoiler and give her everything she wants.
That's it.
Yeah, that's.
I'm the youngest of 4 and only girl too, so that's what you got to do.
Oh, here's the bad part. So not only is he entering the 4A as a girl dad, it's the baby.
That's
it's
me.
the girl and the baby.
That's
oh my
me.
God.
I turned out fine.
Yeah. I think it's good because she's gonna have 3 older brothers. 3 older brothers that are going to keep her in line. They're going to, make sure she's doing the right thing, scare off any of the guys that come over. Like, it makes my job as a dad easier because, typically it's like, here's the shotgun collection. What time are you going to have my baby girl home? That stuff. Now I got 3 older brothers that can, pull up with me. Have, the 4 of us.
Hey.
Have the guys sit down on the couch. We got a whole plan ready for it. Need you guys to know one thing, too. The Braves are playing right now. Playoff baseball. Defending world champions. They're up 3-0 on the Phillies. So for those content creators out there that are on our guy Tuck, Rome, and Law's channel, you're going to take an L this weekend. You're going to take an L tonight. It's going to be a lot of losses for them this weekend. So let's go ahead and drop some L's in the chat for the Philly fan base because it's coming up. Did I do L the wrong way? There we go. There we go. Which way is it?
L's all the way out here from.
We can do both. We can do both sides.
AKA Polk County. I'm not going to mention the spot that I'm at because it may be shut down my whole setup, and I'm out here on the phone. So I'm not going to start. Yeah, whatever. But. Yeah, yesterday was a green light. Today, not a green light. But neither here nor there. But let's get into it. So, Cowboys on the road. LA's like home for us. Boom. Went and did what we did. I will start with this. I think the most impressive thing for me simply is groin injury and then produce. I think, as I talked about in a previous lifestyle, if you will, going into the Patrick Mahomes and the legend grows. Sunday, the Micah Parsons legend grew. Outside of that, though, for y'all, what stuck out to y'all in this Cowboys-Rams game and the Cowboys get the dub? Spoonie, go right ahead. I'm going to just spin the block. Go ahead, Spoon.
So we're talking about how we feel about the outcome of the game?
What stuck out to you in the game?
Well, domination. We dominated right from the beginning. We put a stamp on it. We sent the message loud and clear, and we definitely deliver. Excuse me, it's been a long day. Delivered. So that was the main thing. My favorite part. My favorite part of the game is something that I know it's not really a big thing, but it's Tyler Smith. I love how he approached the Aaron Donald situation. I loved how he responded, even though he was beaten. He understood that in order to be great in this league, you're going to have to face these type of players. And, listen, Donald got the best of it, but he played his ass off. He made sure you can't touch my quarterback. If I got to scratch you, bite you, crawl, I'm gonna do whatever I got to take. And I just love the response from him when the media questioned about that and how he says, going forward, you're never gonna see me complain about defeat. It's about getting better and make sure the next time when I see that opponent again, I'm gonna win the next one. So that was one of my favorite parts.
Fair enough. I'm out here. I'm in Florida. I'm handling some business on the back end. Salute to Cowboys Nation. Real quick. Professor O, Rams game, the one thing that stuck out to you.
So this is something that probably doesn't get talked about enough, but the defensive backs tackling was phenomenal the entire game. Mm-hmm. We've seen, that's been one of the conversations with Donovan Wilson this year. Donovan Wilson's been great in run support. He's been all over the place. We saw it with Malik Hooker. There was some conversation on our guy Trevon Diggs. Week 1, the Bucs get all these explosive runs, specifically targeting him. They're doing some pulling, and there was the conversation of, you're great in run cover or in pass coverage, but can you help against the run? Because it looks like you're a liability. And we saw, week 2, a little bit of the same thing on a few runs. He came to play. He gave up a couple big passes. I think both of them are on the safety, truthfully, but either way, one of them was the deep one to pull, and the other one, that was just a great play. But he came up several times in run support and on screen passes and delivered some really big tackles. I think it may be a little bit of that Bengals game, making that big tackle to kind of seal the victory for the Cowboys and get them the ball back. Maybe a little bit of that's kind of helped his confidence, but both Jordan Lewis had a couple really big tackles, and Anthony Brown all really came to play. So anytime you can get your cornerbacks helping in the run game, in tackling and wrapping up an open field, making plays like that, it goes a long way for a defense, specifically one that has such a extremely aggressive pass rush as we do with our front four, being able to have those other guys be sure-handed in tackling is a huge plus. So that's what I was most impressed with.
Mary, off the injured reserve list.
I mean, it's funny because I mentioned his name as, a guy that wasn't getting enough attention from our fan base and was kind of flying under the radar, Doris Armstrong. And he came in again with the blocks.
Punt.
Block punt. Yeah.
Let's go.
And, had another great game on the line. And he's literally the only player in the NFL who has blocked 2 punts this season. And he just, not only that, but he continues to do his thing when he's in the D line on the rotation. So, I mean, he's one of those guys where we kind of, it's kind of been a long time coming. He's been inching and inching and inching and inching, and like it's coming together amazingly for him.
Thanks. For me, the big bet on Friday was Cowboys defense scores a touchdown. Now, far be it for me to say, I did not know it was going to be the first drive, but here we are. and O's had two. They're so close, just a little indifferent. He's right there.
I'm almost there.
But yeah, man,
almost there.
Oh yeah, thanks.
I was they're gonna go with a fake punt. It's gonna happen. Actually, the week before, I was like, I can see it. It's gonna be a blocked punt, and we blocked the field goal. And then this week, I was like, fake punt. It's all over there on Cam. He's going against his former team. When you watch the film, you can see it, and then the Rams pulled it off on us. I'm like, okay, well, I had the right idea. Just
right. No, O's right there. But Cowboys showed up, got the job done. Don't want to be too long on that. It is what it is because it is. Oh no, look. I'm gonna do it like this. It's Eagles week. It's Eagles week, right? It's Eagles week. So let me set the table. One thing out the gate, you hear Eagles week. You hear, well, we don't say that. They say Cowboys week. But we're playing the Eagles Sunday Night Football. Lower rise, 5-0, 4-1. As you're thinking about this game, Mary, what's the number one thing that hits your head? What's the number one thing that hits your head?
I mean, for
Tables.
us to win, right? Boom. I mean, we just got to stop them from running. We got to contain Jalen Hurts. I mean, you look at him play, and we were having this conversation earlier in our chat where, we were talking about there really honestly isn't much difference between, as far as his progression goes as a passer. And that's why he's running so much still. And that's why there's so many screen passes. We just need to contain Hurts. That's the thing. And that's what's keeping them alive in their games.
All right. Spoonie, one thing, the first thing that hits your head, Cowboys, Eagles, Sunday Night Football.
Don't let it turn into a scoring battle. Basically, we haven't been tested to show that we can score points back and forth with a team. So don't get into that. We know our offense kind of limited right now, for as we can see right now with Cooper Rush. So don't get into a scoring battle. Just try to contain Jalen Hurts. Say what Mary said.
Oh, the first thing that hits your head.
Yeah, so I've watched every one of their games so far this year, live. Well, the ones I could watch live that weren't, at the same time as ours. But I've watched all of them on all 22. Today I went through and watched a second time on all 22, so I have a pretty good feel for what they do. You really just need to limit the screen game because that's such a big part of their offense. If you look at Jalen Hurts, there is progression. He is getting rid of the ball quicker. He is being more decisive, but a lot of that is because it's schemed. It's very easy for him because you're literally just catching the snap, throwing to your screen, catching the ball, throwing a screen. There's a lot of screens. It's like 20% of their offense. So with what he's doing, you really just need to press on the line of scrimmage, take away those easy reads, and force him to go through progressions, because that's when that internal time clock starts kicking in. He knows, I've been coached, I need to get rid of the ball, I need to get rid of the ball, I need to get rid of the ball. And when that first read's not there, you can force some of those takeaway opportunities where they make a panic throw or he decides he needs to tuck and run. And that's where the defensive line is able to use the speed. We have multiple guys that can run on our defensive line. So what I want to do is all the stuff you guys said. Yeah, stop the run, absolutely. But their passing attack is using the screen game as an extended version of their run game. So I want to press on the line of scrimmage and force him to go through progressions, because that allows the sack opportunities, the takeaway opportunities, fumbles, and everything that goes along with that.
I like that. I definitely like it. I'm just, in general, I mean, not getting to predictions or anything else, I need Rams or prior Washington, Kellen Moore, not Kellen Moore, Washington, if that makes sense to you. The one thing that I looked at going through the tape and going and seeing it, the one thing that I hate, when rookies show up and they kind of walk through the door, right? And for me, we all love Jordan Davis. Love to have him. I didn't want Jordan Davis to figure it out before us. I go back to the Cardinals tape. Matt, Jordan Davis figured it out last week. He figured it out. And I'm like, oh no, I want him to figure it out right after us, not right before us. And for me, it's I feel some type of way, man.
Yeah, it's really kind of been a 2-week trend for him. There was noticeable growth for him against the Jaguars, but the Cardinals game was the game where the light bulb fully clicked. I think Jaguars game, he's like, I think I got this. You can kind of see that confidence growing, because one of the things they talk about when you have a massive one tech like that is, yeah, you're going to stop the run. That's what you're supposed to do. You're going to, clog some of those running lanes and get a tackle here and there, but you're not going to be a stat sheet racking guy. He's getting pressures too. So he's being disruptive. Actually, I think that's a great opportunity to bring back up our guy Quentin Bohanna, because he's doing a lot of what we've seen Quentin Bohanna do this year, where he's not just being that big, lane hogging guy. He's actually penetrating, and that's what you're seeing with Jordan Davis too, especially the last week and a half.
No, we're good here.
He's been good.
I'm getting a little pressure. I'm getting a little pressure here. I'm gonna get up out of here before I get kicked out. Low key for me, my prediction, I'm gonna get up out of here. Y'all go, y'all do your thing. I think the Cowboys take an L. Mary, I'm gonna try to grab some of your vibes here. Cowboys lose this game 13-9. Then we'll go 2 touchdowns. I just think the Eagles defense,
We ain't losing.
enough. So,
We ain't losing.
Spoonie, and I can't wait to run this back to see your sermon and get it in there. My guy, Sam, I'm in Florida right now, Polk County, Winter Haven. I had a whole setup, a particular restaurant yesterday said yes, today they tell me no. That's why I'm on the phone. I hate it here. My shit's about to die. I got somebody in my ear like, hey, you got to kill. You got to chill out. So it is what it is. But everyone's going to take y'all home. 13-9 Eagles. Sorry. I'm sorry. Sooner or later, the 12 o'clock hits, and the pumpkin is the pumpkin. I don't know what to tell y'all. I'm sorry. Like, we're great. Look, and that's okay. 13-9, we're okay. I'm just saying, it's okay.
All righty. All right, peace out.
All right, y'all. Y'all kill it. I'll talk to y'all later.
All right, we got this. All right, chat. You know what that means. Nick's is gone. I'm hosting. So whatever we want to happen now can go. So I think it's a really good opportunity. We got Nick's score prediction out of the way. We've discussed a little bit about what we're worried about matchup wise, or what we think the Cowboys' focus should be. So I want to ask you guys this on the other side. We'll start with Spoonie and then we'll go to Mary. How do you think the Eagles prepare for the Cowboys? Because we offer a different challenge than what they've seen so far. So quick reference, they've played one top 15 defense this year.
Right.
One. That was the Jaguars. We've played 3 so far. So we've played good defenses. We haven't really played an explosive offense. We played teams like the Bucks that could be explosive, but haven't really done that yet this year. We've played the Rams, Bengals, kind of the same story. Their offenses aren't hitting like what we saw last year, but they still have some formidable weapons. So this will be the first big challenge in terms of an offense versus our defense, but we also are going to be the biggest challenge they've faced with their offense versus our defense. So I want to ask you guys, starting with Spoonie, what are some matchups that you think the Eagles should be aware of or worried about when facing the Cowboys this week?
When facing the Cowboys offense, right?
Just in general, offense or defense,
In general.
whichever route you want
All
to
right.
go. Yeah.
So when facing the Cowboys offense is going to be basically it's going to be the run game, the offensive line. That's going to be the thing. That's the one strength that we've been showing for the last 4 weeks. The passing game has been there, but not as explosive like in the past. But the run game has been tremendous. We just saw last week with Tony Pollard doing a big run for a touchdown, and you can see even Zeke's doing a very good job with the run. So for the Eagles, they will look more towards the run going into this game for what we've shown so far.
Okay. What do you think, Mary? Actually, before we do that, let's talk about Zeke real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So I put the tweet out there earlier. If you haven't seen it, the Cowboys media guide for this week in their press release had a really cool stat about Zeke. Zeke needs 38 scrimmage yards. So that's any combination of rushing and receiving yards.
Right.
38 scrimmage yards this week or any point in the season to be the third Cowboys running back in team history with 10,000 scrimmage yards for their career. So that's just Tony Dorsett and Emmitt
Awesome.
Smith. So he will be in elite company already, which I thought was pretty cool. So since Spoonie mentioned him, I thought we'd talk about that really quickly. But Mary, what do you think about the game from the Eagles' standpoint, looking at the Cowboys? Where should they be worried about that we could exploit on their team?
I definitely like bringing up the run game, but I mean, I think we do a little bit of what they like to do against most teams, which is the quick screen game. We have guys that can take it downfield, and Pollard, in CD Lamb, in Turpin. I mean, this is a good game to get him more involved in something like that. I think that'll be, because their defense is good. I personally don't think they're better than ours especially as far as speed goes. I think our defense is faster than theirs. So I think we can have guys that can beat them as far as speed on offense. And defensively, I saw Outlaw Cowboy say it in the chat, and this is something I was kind of thinking about before. Was they love this week to have listed who are all these offenses that we played in their rankings, but these are teams that offensively I feared way more than I fear the Eagles' offense as far as just their skill players go. Obviously, the QBs, we know their QBs can, even if they're not as athletic, we know that at any moment they can chunk something downfield and hit Jamar Chase or Cooper Kupp or Mike Evans. I don't, AJ Brown's a great player. I don't put him on the level of any of those guys. Miles Sanders, same thing. They have some talented people, but I've come up against some just as talented, if not more talented, skill position players. So I think, once again, that speed is going to come into huge play for us on our defense. And I just want to continue to see that aggression and maybe a spy on Jalen Hurts, things like that. I think that's going to be our best bet going forward in this game.
Yeah, I think those are both good ones. One thing I want to talk about too, if I was the Eagles preparing for this week, is there's been kind of the tale of two Jalen Hurts this year. So when he's not pressured, he's completing like 72% of his passes or something crazy. But when he is pressured, he's completing like 47% of his passes. He actually ranks 30th overall when pressured, specifically when blitzed, but more so just when pressured. Now, the Cowboys aren't an aggressive blitzing team this year. Mary and I talked about that in the chat with Spoon earlier. They rank 17th. So they're kind of right there in the middle of the league. We blitz 25.1% of the time. So enough that you have to account for it, but we're not in the top, 10 in the league. Like the Giants are actually number one at 43%.
Right.
So to kind of give you some context of the difference there. However, we have a front four that kind of feels like you're facing a front six.
Yes.
I say it kind of in jest, but I'm also being honest. When you have multiple guys, when you have a Dante Fowler and a Sam Williams and a Oso Digizua and a Micah Parsons all on the front four, and you're facing three guys that run a 4.5 40 or quicker, that's tough for an offensive line, especially one banged up. They have injuries to Jordan Mailata. They also have injuries to Travis Kelce. He's playing through it, but they're both injured.
Jason Kelce, you mean?
Yeah, Jason Kelce. I'm not sure about Mailata if he's playing or not, but I know that he has an injury too, and that's their left tackle. So they also obviously lost Andre Dillard before the season started. So they've had their share of injuries on the offensive line, and you're facing a defense that doesn't need to bring 6 or 7 to get to your quarterback. We can get there with 4. And that's one of the things you watch on film. Cowboys fans and NFL fans watch and say, well, they're getting tons of pressure, tons of sacks. They must be bringing 6 or 7. Must be Dan Quinn being aggressive. That's not really the case.
Yeah.
So when you have a defense that's able to press on the line because we have extra guys to help in coverage because we don't have to blitz you, it adds a different dynamic to what the quarterback does. And we know that affects quarterbacks because we saw that with our own quarterback in Dak Prescott last year. When teams blitzed him, he didn't have an issue. He could make the easy read. But when they dropped 7 or 8 guys back, those reads aren't there as easy, and now the pressure has a chance to get home, and you're kind of rushing through your progressions when you don't have to. We saw the exact same thing with Pat Mahomes, a guy that everybody's saying, future Hall of Famer, rightfully so, because he's been amazing. But last year, early in the season, everybody started doing cover 2 against him, taking away those deep ball opportunities, and he had nobody to throw to because he's 8 or 9 people dropping back on 4 receivers.
Right.
So that's one of the things I'd be worried about as an Eagles fan or an Eagles coaching staff member, saying we like to throw screens, but if they press in the line, that takes away our screen ability. And we've had issues this year stopping teams from getting pressure on us unless we go heavy, and they do a lot of max protect sets. You'll see a lot of 2 and 3 man route concepts. So they do that to kind of protect. So it's just interesting. That's one of the challenges I think the Eagles are going to face against us. And then on our side, that's some things we've talked about too. They have a quarterback that can run. His rushing yards are right up there with Zeke, for instance, our leading running back. So they also have Miles Sanders who can run the ball. So that's one thing they do, and they're effective with the screen game. I wanted to bring this up too because Uba mentioned the scoring this year. So there's kind of a trend there, 35, 24, 24, 29, 20. They've scored points. It's interesting, though, how they've done it. First quarter, nothing. Second quarter, 18 points per quarter. Third quarter, basically nothing. Fourth quarter, basically nothing. They rank number 1 in scoring in the second quarter, and then they're 19th or further behind in every other quarter. So obviously that doesn't mean that'll always be the case, but they're definitely a team that when they're in rhythm, they're hot. So it's just a matter of if you can keep them off rhythm or withstand the storm. And if you can, you're probably okay because they don't consistently score. So that was kind of an interesting note too.
Yes, too. I mean, a lot of their games ended up very close because they're scoring all those points, and then all of a sudden they stopping, and then it's just they're grinding it out to barely win at the end. So yeah, it is interesting. I mean, it's crazy how, I mean, we already know there's a double standard with the Cowboys, but this time last year we were consistently putting up 40 on everybody. And it was like, oh, it wasn't a big deal. It didn't matter. And now it's like what they're doing, they're putting up points and they're winning, but they're not blowing anybody out by any stretch of the means or any stretch of the definition. And it's, oh my God, they're unstoppable. Who's going to finally beat them? And it's just crazy how differently things are looked at when you think about the Cowboys versus somebody like the Eagles.
I mean, I have a question. Have they beaten anybody with a winning record or anybody who was in the playoff last year other than the Arizona Cardinals?
The Vikings have a winning record right now.
Yeah, the Vikings are 4-1, so they have beaten a team with a winning record, and the Cardinals were a playoff team. So they've done one. They have one of each. But we beat the Super Bowl champs and the runners-up last year, and we won
the Super Bowl
so
champs.
We played 3 different playoff teams so far. So we've definitely had the harder of the schedules. They've played some better offenses than we have, though. Like the Detroit Lions, which really feels odd saying that, but they have one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL. Last week, they had a rough outing against the Patriots, but every other game, they've had no issue throwing the ball and running the ball all over everyone. So I think some of the issue, like the injuries to Amon-Ra St. Brown and DeAndre Swift have kind of hampered them a little bit, but they've been an explosive offense. I wanted to ask you guys this too. So playing in Philadelphia, I know the Eagles fans have their own feelings about it. It's our house and we're a tough environment to play in and all that. Is it just me, especially the timing of the year? Like we're playing early October, so like inclement weather and all that stuff that maybe you would worry about in late December, January, that doesn't
point.
factor in at all now. So do you guys fear playing in Philadelphia at all? Like, does that matter? Does that do anything for you guys this week?
I mean, the only thing is, is terms of you just never know, like if it's a home field advantage as far as the refs go, because sometimes that does play a part. But weather-wise, I don't think so. And then, we always end up, playing really well there. Like whatever they think their fans do or whatever the case may be, the Cowboys players themselves clearly aren't that intimidated by whatever their fans do or say. So if anything, it might just fuel them because even if we lose, we usually play well there.
I love it. I love it this early, and I love the fact, Professor, what you mentioned, weather. Weather can be definitely be an issue when playing this game, especially where there's for a win, there's things you can achieve like division wins or X, Y, and Z. So playing this early, it's a good thing because it's a good weather over there in Philadelphia. As far as the fan base and everything like that, I mean, it's always going to be a hostile environment. I'm not worried about for this team because we got a hostile team. We got a hostile defense that there's definitely want to get after that offense. So, whatever for the fan base out there in Philadelphia, kudos to y'all. This Dallas Cowboys team is not scared at all. The same way we went there last year, whip that ass, the same way we're going to go in there this year and do the same thing. And I love the fact that the second game is all the way in December 24th. So that's at least a week before we get to find out the playoff seeding X, Y, and Z. So a lot may be up for grabs by that time, but hopefully by that time we'll be healthy enough, especially when I'm having Dak. We should have Dak within the next couple of weeks. So he should, if there are any injuries, any setbacks, he should be at that game. So I like the schedule where we at right now. It could definitely give us a lot of momentum with a W, and it could definitely kill the momentum for the Eagles at the same time. And that's the one thing we want to do. We want to stay on top of that division.
It's interesting you brought up crowd or whatever because they asked Micah Parsons about that. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if they asked him about the Eagles game or if they were asking about any just in games in general. Right. But he said he's just so he's so focused and he's so turned up in his own mind. He says sometimes he doesn't even hear the crowd. So it's like that kind of focus. It seems like it's contagious with them. When you hear the sounds of the sidelines and the things they're talking about, it seems like crowd noise is like pretty much not even an issue for them, especially on defense.
Well, I think too, part of it was him Micah being a Pennsylvania guy playing at Penn State. Like he's kind of used to those type of fans. Obviously, Eagles fans and Penn State fans may not be the exact same one for one, but he's played in environments like that in that area. So like weather-wise, that really wouldn't be a factor. And again, we're playing in early October, so weather shouldn't be an issue at all right now. But I also think it's probably worth mentioning we have Jason Peters, and he's excited, ready to play. He said, I'm good to go. He kind of talked about the Eagles fan base and called them effing idiots, but in kind of an endearing way. If you just stop the sentence there, it's like, yeah, get them. But it was kind of in an endearing way and like how passionate and crazy they are about their fan base. But that kind of adds to it too, because now you have somebody that's a veteran leader in the locker room who can tell some of the younger guys, like a Tyler Smith, for instance, everything's new to him still. He's on his sixth game. So every environment he goes to, home or away, it's new to him. Having somebody like that can kind of settle him down and say, this is what to expect. This is how you tune it out. Let me show you the lay of the land. I know my way through the hall. Like that kind of helps a little bit too. It's not going to make a difference in us winning or losing the game, but it is nice to have a little bit of that. I've been there. I know what they're about. I know quite a few of those guys that are still out there. I practiced against Brandon Graham. I practiced against Fletcher Cox. This is some of their tendencies. It's nice to have that to a certain extent. So, yes, exactly. So the direct quote from these Peters was, "Eagles fans are fucking idiots." Period.
And nasty, he said nasty too. He did say nasty. He said nasty.
Thank you for the update.
He said nasty.
And then our guy Dizzle Bruce said same thing. So yeah, we're on the same page there. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about Cooper Rush with you guys. So Nick's kind of alluded to it right before he hopped out on the pumpkin, and all of that. So we've seen the fan base and Jerry started this, to be fair, but we've seen the fan base and now the national media and now the local media kind of has gotten into it on this conversation on Cooper Rush is playing so well and the offense has been so efficient with him and all this noise. And I'm just, frankly, I'm fed up with it. I'm over it. I just am. We're like 29th or 30th in third down conversion. Like, we've scored 18
time of
points
possession. We're like one of the bottom in the time of possession. We're one of the worst.
Yeah, we've scored 18 points a game. 18.6 to be exact. We scored 31 points a game with Dak last year. So if you have a defense that's playing to the level that this defense is, and you still have formidable weapons on the outside, which we didn't have week 1 because Gallup wasn't there. We were playing, Noah Brown, and no knock on him. He's done better than a lot of us expected. But the shade that this fan base in the media has given towards Dak recently has gotten out of control, and I'm just over it. Like, if you watch film or even the broadcast, you don't even have to be a film junkie. If you just watch the broadcast, we're not getting it done in the red zone. Red zone scoring has been really, really bad. Mm-hmm. Fans were talking about red zone scoring being bad 2 years ago with Dak, or 3 years ago with Dak. It's way worse now. Like, we're not scoring in the red zone. We're taking field goal after field goal after field goal. So shout out to Maher on that. But you got to score points. Like, it's not fair to this defense to ask so much of them every single week. It's great that they can stand up and do that, but it's just not realistic that you can say, if Cooper Rush throws for 3,200 yards and 17 touchdowns this year, because that's what his stats average out over a 17-game season, that's good enough, because it's just not. It's not. That's what Daniel Jones numbers 2 years ago, and the Giants fans were wanting to run out of the building. That's what the Cowboys fan base is saying that they want at quarterback over Dak, and now the media is doing it too. I'm over it. I'm not saying I'm rooting against Cooper Rush. I hope he has a phenomenal game this week, but I just think our fans need to dial it back and be more realistic and put some respect on Ford's name.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you brought up 2018 or just, any time that you can think of that Dak has struggled. And all those same people that had a problem during those times are the same people that are saying that Cooper Rush is playing great. Mm-hmm. Like, the stats weren't good enough for you then, even if we won. I remember it was conversations about, we won, but Dak can't even throw for 200 yards. And it's like, those are the same people that are like, we're winning and, Rush is playing better. And it's like, that's like, there's literally nothing that supports that. The numbers don't support it. And what's in the game that you see doesn't support it. Like, nothing on either part of it supports it. So it's just weird that all of that's getting skipped over for just because there's more wins, or, just because Cooper is undefeated in his career so far, that's being talked about over the fact that the wins are coming from mostly the defense and the special teams.
I think that last sentence from our guy Outlaw sums it up too. He's doing just enough. No shade to him. 100%. That what you want your backup quarterback to do is not lose you games when they play. Hold down the fort. Just don't give the keys of the kingdom back to Dak. 0-5 or 0-6 or something like that. All we wanted him to do was win a few games, and he's done enough offensively for us to win. But there's a difference in doing enough in a short span for the team not to just completely crumble, and also asking that to be your future quarterback or the quarterback of for the rest of the season. It's just kind of crazy that we're even having this conversation. I'm frankly disappointed. Not in the if you're a Cooper Rush fan, that's totally fine. I'm just disappointed at because we like Cooper Rush, we have to downplay what Dak could do. Because we are happy that Cooper Rush has been better than we expected, we have to dismiss what Dak's able to do. It's just, Yeah,
there's a narrative now that, somebody on Twitter was talking about Rush at least doesn't throw fourth quarter interceptions that lose the game. I'm like, Dak, literally doesn't hardly ever. They said it's a normal stat for him. I'm like, that is actually literally not a normal stat for Dak. They're just making up things now. It's like, it's not a normal thing. You're just literally making up stuff. You can verify this information. Yeah,
and Spoon, shout out to Aisha, by the way.
Hey, girl.
Spoon, same thing for you. So some of the context of what we're hearing is he has this great command over the offense. was it great commitment over handoffs last week because he threw for 102 yards?
I mean,
again, I'm not saying it to hate on this man. I'm just we gotta context out there so we understand what we're working with. The defense is playing phenomenal. We've been able to run the ball effectively enough, and he's able to throw the ball sometimes and convert some third downs and do enough not to make it a complete disaster offensively. But we had number 4 throw for almost 5,000 yards, 37 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions or whatever it was last year, with the number 1 offense scoring 31 points a game. So you can do some of the same stuff we're doing now, right? You can get Dak back under center and still make sure that the handoffs are balanced out more and not being super pass heavy. So wouldn't you think, Spoon, doing the same type of things we've done with Cooper Rush, but with a better player there would help the team, right? Am I crazy?
Listen, if the play call is the same way that is being called for Cooper Rush with Dak, we're fine. And but fans got to understand this. We always had an issue with Kellen Moore, right? Is he going to call the right plays, X, Y, and Z? Well, he hasn't. So far this year, when Mike McCarthy got involved, you see a different thing. Now, imagine Dak was dealing with this for the last for his career pretty much in Dallas with from Kellen Moore there. So my whole thing is that it's never, if anything, there's been plays out there where Dak had to do more bailing us out than more of just producing moving forward, like the way Cooper Rush is doing. The game is slower for him. This is why when BJ asked earlier, the type of thing that we don't want to see against the Philadelphia Eagles, it's a scoring thing. We don't want to see that.
We want to go back and forth.
Right. We haven't seen that with Cooper Rush. And, to be honest, with some of these fans, what Professor was saying, I understand. You just don't like Dak. You never did. So whoever comes in his place for the time being and does well, you're always going to compare that person to Dak, especially if you listen to the wrong people in the media. Because let's be honest, if we have Dak Prescott right now on this team with this defense, now again, last year's defense was good. This year's defense is fantastic. This is a Super Bowl type defense Dak has never had. We're scoring more points and we're shutting folks out. Let's just be honest with that. But again, you're going to have these fans out here who's going to want to just, in deep down inside, they don't like Dak Prescott. So whatever narrative that comes up, they're just going to go with it. But let's be honest. If number 4 is here, we are blowing every team out the box with the way these defense is playing. And that's just being honest. So, even if these game again, even if we lose against, I'm sorry, man, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just saying, for example, we got that turnover on Sunday that put us in the red zone. We're right there. And it ended in a field goal. Dak Prescott chunks that as a touchdown, 9 times out of 10. I'm not saying it's perfect every time when Dak does it, but there are certain things that, we talked about before about that are left on the field. We can all talk about, people can talk about, oh, Dak doesn't do this, Dak doesn't do that. But he sees things that we know that Rush hasn't seen. And he's more likely going to score that touchdown in that moment for what we saw against that Rams defense than what Cooper was able to do. And that's fine. Cooper is a backup and he's doing his thing as a backup. But to act like there's no difference or that we somehow will be worse just because Dak is back in and that Rush is a hot hand it's crazy. It's ridiculous.
Right.
And I think too, what we need to look at is we should be thankful and excited that we're 4-1 within striking distance of winning or taking the lead in the division. If we beat the Eagles, we will be tied for first place in the NFC with the Vikings, assuming that they win. And we'll also be in first place in the division via a 3-0 division record. So we're in really good position right now. But what we should be excited about is not necessarily what Cooper Rush has done. We should be thankful and tip our cap for him for doing that. What we should be excited about, though, is if we look at late career Tony Romo, think 2014, the first year where it seemed like Romo was really understanding, like, I don't need to be the hero every single game. It's cool to ride the DeMarco Murray train when it's there. It's cool to just play within what I do, take what the defense gives me, still air it out when I need to, but just protect the football, which is something Dak's been really good at doing his whole career. What I'm excited about is if Kellen Moore continues to call the same type of plays and the same scheme offensively that he's done, obviously being a little bit more aggressive because you have a more capable quarterback doing so. But as long as he keeps a similar enough stance with the offense, that's what I should be excited about, knowing Dak Prescott's coming back. Because if I can keep defenses honest in the run game and still be able to explode a little bit more offensively and be a little bit more aggressive and take some more chances, I think that's the best of both worlds. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And again, credit to Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore, two people that the Cowboys fan base, and quite frankly, Cooper Rush and Brett Maher, four guys that the Cowboys fan base kind of collectively have not been excited about for doing what we need them to do so far. But if it's growth from Mike McCarthy, or Mike McCarthy taking more ownership, or Kellen Moore being more willing to learn, or whatever that dynamic is that's caused this, I'm excited to see it. I'm just kind of surprised that we're even talking about Cooper Rush as a quarterback right now.
Professor Mary, you know what gets me is that we've been down this route before where a starting quarterback goes down, right? And then we have a backup. And the season is done. Matt Castle, it's been one of the worst years I've ever seen with a backup quarterback. What's my guy's name from Oklahoma State? Brandon Weeden. There's another one. So as fans, we should be happy that finally, because what's the one thing we always talk about in the offseason of improving on the roster? A backup quarterback. Nobody here, and let's be honest, you're lying to yourself if you when all of us, me included, we've all came out and talked bad about Cooper Rush. Why is he on this team? X, Y, and Z. You understand? So then now all of a sudden now we see him play 4 games. One game last year again, and then these 4 games, he's 5-0. Now all of a sudden now we're talking about him being better than a starting quarterback. You got to be honest with yourself.
I'm just confused as to why, if everyone thinks he's, especially national media and all this, if everyone thinks he's as great as they're saying he is, why are we still picked to lose every single game we play?
Exactly. I don't get it. I don't
5-point the same game last week, right? We beat the Rams, and everybody's saying, well, it's just, the Rams aren't the same team. Why did Vegas have them as a 5.5-point favorite over us? If they're
and I'm pretty sure Philly is 6
until we beat them, and then suddenly, they're not that good of a team. I do want to bring it back to Eagles conversation. Haley brought up something interesting, and then I'm going to get to a question Outlaw has for the panel. So Kavanaugh mentioned if Dallas wins at Philly, the odds of them winning the division is 52-48 to Philly. But if we lose, the odds makers say it goes from 85-15. That's interesting. I don't really put too much stock into it, just because if the Cowboys lose this week, we're 2-1 in the division. We're 4-2 overall. There's a lot of football to go, and we'll play them another time this year. They still have some tough teams on their schedule. We still have some tough games, so a lot can change. I don't really look at that one too much, but do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I would like to say this.
I would wonder exactly why. I think the main reason is because people are thinking that Dak's hand was cut off and he's just never coming back. And like I said, they don't have as much faith in Cooper Rush as they claim they do.
Yeah.
Listen, I tell you this.
He's lost a foot and now it's a hand, apparently.
It's like, we all hate it. I mean, in so many areas, it's unbelievable. I know later on with my son, I don't want to spoil anything, but I'll say this. Every question about the Cowboys, haven't they answered most of them these first 4 games of the season? And I'm talking about players departing, players we're getting. And I mean, not for nothing though, the media has not put this in there, but we're 4-1, dealing with a lot of injuries. Next man of approach. It's like last season. Have the Eagles shown that yet? Have they gone through that yet? We're doing this with backups. Just a defense.
Or rookies.
Or rookies. Backup and injuries. Normally, and what was the first thing everybody said? When your starter goes down, your season is done. I mean, week 1, a lot of us thought that, including myself. We're 4-1. We have a chance to be either 7-1 at the bye week or 6-2. That's still great going into the bye week. Again, maybe the media maybe it may take that a W on Sunday if the Dallas Cowboys go into Lincoln Financial and beat that Eagles team with Cooper Rush as a starting quarterback, depending what type of game he had. Oh nah, you better give us that crown, baby. Give us that crown. There's no way around it. You can't make no more excuses. We're not supposed to be where we at today. We're not.
Yeah. I do want to get to this question real quick. So our guy Outlaw Cowboy said, Matt, Spoonie, Mary, what player do you think predominantly spies Hurts Sunday night? So I'll start with Mary because we've seen this in the past a few years ago. We did it with CJ Goodwin. We've seen some elements of it with Donovan Wilson a few years ago as well, but it was mostly CJ Goodwin that year. So what do you think the plan is for them? Because last year when we played, we didn't really have a set guy that spied. We kind of went with a platoon where multiple guys spied him throughout the game. Do you think that there's any one player, and if so, who would you use?
I've been really thinking about this. And my honest thing is I really don't know. I thought about Donovan Wilson. I thought about Jaron Kearse, but then I'm like, you don't want him doing that. I thought about mostly Donovan Wilson, and then I thought a little bit about Jordan Lewis. But I really don't know. I'm hoping that it's kind of a mixture because I think that will make for a better strategy in terms of, if they see this one guy on him all the time, then they'll start to adjust to that. I think it'll be easier to just not know and it'd be different, a few times during the game. Okay.
What about you, Spoonie?
Well, last time it was working with Donovan Wilson, spying him. I would think I would go back to him. I know there was mention about, like you said, CJ Goodwin, Jordan Lewis would be a good name too. On top of that, but I would think Donovan Wilson. It happened in the past, so that's what I would go with.
Okay, so Debo put my answer in the chat, and I think it may surprise you guys.
See, I saw that, but like
Anthony Barr.
Okay.
Is he fast enough though?
Well, that's the thing. Jalen Hurts is a good athlete, but he's not a burner. Like Jalen Hurts is not a Lamar Jackson, Mike Vick type of quarterback, or Kyler Murray. Like he's not. Yeah,
that's true.
He's a little bit more similar to like Dak Prescott in terms of athleticism, so he can make plays. Yeah, I guess Russell Wilson, Mendoza brought him up. That's probably a better. That's
a good comparison.
He's more like a Donovan Wilson, or not Donovan. Russell Wilson. Talking Dono. I think Dono would be a good answer. I think Anthony Barr and Dono kind of man it up at different spots. I definitely don't think it's Jaron Kearse because the tight end is a big part of what they do, and Kearse is our tight end eraser. So he's going to be that guy more often than not that we call his number to face up against Dallas Goedert. So I don't think you would look at Kearse. Jordan Lewis, you guys mentioned, he would be interesting. However, he's your slot corner, and those guys are really valuable. So you want to keep him, able to match up against somebody like a Devontae Smith in the slot. You don't really want to take away from that. So I think you're going to see
Kelvin Joseph. What do you think about him?
So Kelvin Joseph, in terms of athleticism, I just haven't seen them play him enough defensively to give him that nod. But to your point, chat, we also hadn't seen CJ Goodwin in extended action and defense until 2 years ago when we did that, when he was quarterback spy. So maybe somebody, TC915 brought up another guy in
Bland,
a guy we've seen man the slot. So maybe that does free up Jordan Lewis, who is a guy that's been talked as a potential safety prospect because he's a good sound tackler. Maybe that might be the way you go with it too. Another name thrown out there, Sam Williams. I don't think they would use Sam Williams because I think they're going to want to use him as a pass rusher. I don't know how he would do in space just because it's asking a lot from a young guy to do that. What do you guys think? Is Sam Williams or Bland, any of those names thrown out there, interesting to you guys?
I like the Bland idea. That's kind of where I was going as far as using Jordan Lewis because Bland could play in Lewis's spot. He's done that so far this year, and he did a good job. Sam Williams.
Before you go on. Yeah. So you would like the matchup in chat? Answer this for me too. You like the matchup of Bland in the slot and Lewis quarterback spying more, or do you like the idea of Lewis in the slot and Bland quarterback spying? Which of those combos do you like better?
For me, I like Lewis better because he's a veteran. I don't want to put so much on DeRon Bland. He had a couple of snaps in. not the Rams gave it the one before that, but at the same time, Jordan Lewis is he's a veteran. He understands the
Wait,
game.
which one are you saying you want? Which one are you
Lewis,
saying you'd rather
Jordan
Lewis?
Jordan
But
Lewis.
which spot? What are you saying? Which spot? Spy as a spy?
Yeah, spy.
Okay,
Yeah, spy.
okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't put that on the wrong blind at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Mary?
I agree. I agree with him.
Okay.
And then you can always adjust, and if it doesn't work, then you can always adjust. But that's what my initial thought was with Jalen.
And also, we don't want to overwork Micah Parsons as well. So Sam Williams, we're gonna need him rushing the passer more, not to overwork Parsons.
Yeah, I think when I'm looking at it is Donovan Wilson and Anthony Barr make the most sense because of where they play schematically. Like you're not having to take somebody out of the role that they do. We already played Dono all over the place and in the box and back deep, and so we do that a lot. And then the same thing with Anthony Barr. He's playing as a true linebacker. We've seen him play some snaps in the mic, but mostly Sam or Will. We've seen him on the line of scrimmage as an edge rusher. So we've seen both of those guys do that. So I think they make the most sense. But DQ may want to go with a completely different wrinkle, or he may say, we don't need to spy him. Let's play cover 2 looks, take away the deep ball. Let's put everybody cover 2 press, for instance. So you have those defensive backs on the line of scrimmage to take away the short game, or make it take longer to get to that, and then just contain with the defensive ends. I don't know. We have athleticism. We have enough athleticism on the defensive line where I don't think you really have to spy him now because we have enough guys that can catch him down from behind. But I don't know. So TC915 says you need to spy him, but if you watch film, there's quite a few opportunities have been spying, and like at least not at the rate you think it would be. Cover 2 press is what teams are doing effectively against them. You don't want to play off coverage.
I think we're at a point. I think it's awesome that we're at a point now where we were all to name like multiple people.
Right. No, good point.
You know what I'm saying? Like
we have enough athletes now. Yeah.
I feel like the very first time we came across Jalen Hurts, we were like, who can we get to do it? Do we trust this person? Do we trust this person? And like we have multiple people now that we can really consider and see doing that. And that's great. That's a great problem to have, really.
Well, one of the advantages to a cover 2 press, like aside from the things we already talked about, is you now have a safety who is athletic, whether that's Dono and Hooker, whatever combination we do, who's on either side of the field in case he does break away. You have somebody who can come up who's a sound tackler and a good athlete to make a tackle in space. And it also is going to help when you're playing a team that likes to do a lot of screen passes because you already have somebody there who's able to come up and support that. So I do think you see less cover 1 than what we usually look at this week, but as DQ, he's the defensive mastermind right now, so I'll defer to him, but that's what I think we're going to do. Spoonie, what about you?
For me, I would think you have to see how the game progresses. If we get into the quarterback, I don't think we need to spy. I would go with your plan with the cover 2 press. But if it's getting kind of like out of hand where he's constantly extending the plays by him, running, then you have to go and consider that. It's basically just you got to see what kind of adjustments you got to make for what they're doing on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, Mary, you want to take this one? Our guy Haley 94 Weird wants to know who's going to cover Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, we were just talking about this. Jaron Kearse, he's very good with those tight ends. That's one of the reasons I was like, we can't use him as a spy because he's that guy for that, so. Yeah,
and another thing, too, to your point, what's interesting about this defense is even when Kearse was hurt, we've basically shut down tight ends for every team we've played. Like, tight ends just the Giants' tight ends actually, believe it or not, were the most effective against us with Bellinger. And I think he had like 50 yards or something like that total between their 2 tight ends. So we've done a good job schematically against tight ends. However, the way that they use Dallas Goedert, like you said, they're going to throw him a lot of screens. He's going to get dump offs. You're going to see a lot of plays where they're showing a max protect look. He's going to block down, wait for a second as the delayed release route, and he's going to try to drop into the flats unaccounted for. They do that quite a bit. The Rams actually tried that a lot last week, probably 5 or 6 times on film, and Dallas was all over it. We just didn't allow it to happen. But the Eagles are going to do that at an even greater extent. Spoonie, you want to answer this one? Who do they like to use in the slot? Do they use a lot of 11 personnel? So they do use a lot of 11 personnel They also use 12 personnel too. They use a decent mixture, but it is a lot of 11. The slot
What-
is mostly, well, they have two guys that they use, but Quez and Devontae Smith. But you'll see
Yeah, I was
Smith
about to say
in the slot a lot
Smith.
too.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, Smith.
Nah, same thing. Quez Watkins and Devontae Smith. Those are the same two.
A lot of times when they're in 11 personnel, they'll have trips or 3 wide receivers on one side. They'll have Dallas Goedert on the other side. A lot of times when they're doing that is when you're going to see the tight end blocking down for second and release into the flats type of looks. But a lot of times they're going to have A.J. Brown on the outside as their X, and then they'll have both Quez Watkins and Devontae in the slot. So you'll see quite a bit of different looks from them. You'll see 7-man lines with 2 tight ends on one side. You'll see 3 receivers and sometimes 4 receivers on one side. You'll see a little bit of 2x2s, which is 2 receivers on each side or twins formation. So they do a good job of showing a lot of looks, but it's not nearly as exotic as what you're thinking when you look at the points that they've scored early in the half.
Yeah.
They put people in motion, but it's nothing like what we just saw against the Rams. It's not anything like a Sean McVay offense. It's a lot more, I hate to call it vanilla, but it's just more traditional. It's something you've seen multiple times.
Yeah, I feel like it's not going to be any surprises for them unless they just completely shift what they've been doing in the first 5 weeks.
Yeah. This offense is pretty much predicated to what Jalen Hurts can do. They're not going to overdo him and things like that. I'm not gonna go all the way and say he's a bad quarterback, but he's still learning. He's progressing very well and everything, but there are limitations there for him. So they're gonna give him what it was best fit for him, and stuff like that. So I really do see Dan Quinn going into his bag and definitely put a lid on him. If it's vanilla as we call it, we'll put the cherry on the top for y'all.
Yeah, I do want to dial back on that. Vanilla is probably not the right word to use, but it's just more of a traditional offense where
I got you.
The exotic element is what Jalen Hurts can do out of that look, but the looks themselves are things that you see on a weekly basis league wide. It's not like they're doing, Brian Kelly things when Chip Kelly brought the Oregon offense to the NFL and you started seeing crazy, that's not what you're going to see. It's not a lot of trickery. It's just more so we have a great offensive line. We're going to play bully ball when we run the ball. We're going to do a little bit of window dressing with play action and a lot of screens. It's really not that crazy. When you watch it, you're like, oh, really? This is what we're up against. Okay. So yeah, I just want to throw that back. It's not really vanilla. It's just more traditional. All right. So I'm going to let this one go to Mary. How do you guys feel about Diggs versus Browns matchup? I feel like it's a great matchup for us, much better than Cup versus Diggs. What do you think, Mary?
Oh, yeah. No, I kind of alluded to this earlier that we've faced. I think Brown is a very good wide receiver. I just feel like, we've had better competition as far as other wide receivers so far this season. And I think we can, I think Diggs can definitely do it, especially helping that he's used to Jalen Hurts. It seems like, watching the previous games with Jalen Hurts and Diggs, when he gets the interceptions, he's watching his eyes. He knows where he's going to go. And I think that's going to help a lot in that matchup against Brown.
What about you, Spoonie?
I've been waiting for this for a long time. I really have. I really, really have. And
well, the floor is yours, Spoonie. Tell us about it.
I mean, listen, we was all there in Vegas. Us three of us, we were all there in Vegas. And when AJ got traded to the listen, very good wide receiver. He's a good wide receiver. But let's be honest. Is he something like Debo or these guys? No, but he's a very good receiver, coming from Tennessee. This is Diggs' game right here. This is going to be the game where I really want Diggs to not let this man get in his head. Understand, he's been doing a lot of chirping, X, Y, and Z. This is the game where Diggs has shut the lid of being the best corner in the NFL, in my opinion, for this game right here. When you shut down one of the biggest trades, right, that we call it in the NFL, it's going to show something. This man here came down. He gave a play. He gave up a play last week against Cooper Kupp, but after that, he followed them. It was a shutdown. The rest of the game. If Diggs shut down AJ Brown, he shut down McLaurin in his division. Okay, The Giants don't really have anybody there. You're gonna really get crowned as either the best corner in the NFL playing today, or at least top 2, top 3, in my opinion. This is a big game. I just don't want Brown to get in Diggs' head, because we can't lose Diggs at all in that second.
I don't think he will get in his head. I don't think Diggs has a problem with people getting in his head.
Right.
I think that it's going to be a good matchup, and I think ultimately Diggs' experience so far this year with other wide receivers is going to help towards more confidence in this Brown matchup, plus his experience playing against Jalen Hurts.
And, the one thing I was reading, I've read over the summertime, they had a couple of cases in camp that whenever AJ Brown does not get the ball, or he got shut down by a slave, once he gets out of funk, he loses control. And this is something where I want really Diggs to lock his ass down and get this game out of hand. We want to see them on the sidelines. What happened? Why you didn't throw me the ball? Well, you ain't open. This is the thing that we want to see. We want to see frustration on that team.
Big play Trey. I like that.
Trey. Love that. Love that. Especially because those Eagles fans, one of them may or may not be on a show with our guys, Rome Law and Tuck, holding it down against some Eagles content creators. But one of them made a hat that says Hurt Season, SZN. And then they had the audacity to say that's our thing. Other fan bases stole it from us, because Cowboys fans were saying CD season an entire year before Jalen Hurts was even drafted.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all over Twitter. In fact, if you look up on Twitter, because there's a search feature, so it's very easy to do so, you can look up CD season and see tons and tons and tons of fans, not just people that listen to us or listen to other content creators, just all across the Twitterverse saying CD season all throughout the year. Then a whole year later, actually it was a year and a half later, Jalen Hurts season hat came out, and that's really the first emergence of that. So the fact that they would steal our thing and then try to say that we stole it from them, it's just what the Eagles do. It's that little brother syndrome is what I like to call it. Just how it is. I wanted to kind of touch on this conversation really quickly too. This is an interesting matchup for Trayvon Diggs for a number of reasons. The Eagles have a formidable receiving crew. They have some good weapons. I don't like the Devontae Smith-Diggs matchup at all. I love the A.J. Brown-Diggs matchup, because what we've seen from Diggs, and this is normal in the NFL, we've seen the same thing with Jalen Ramsey. We see it with offensive tackles all the time, where they do better against speed rushers versus bull rushers, or vice versa. Diggs just hasn't been as good. Not that he hasn't been good, but he hasn't been as good against these small, shifty, great route running receivers. Yeah. But the bigger body guys that aren't quite as, quick twitch, fast twitch guys, he's done great against them. He's had no issues, because those are the guys that he can do that trail technique coverage, because he knows his catch-up speed can get there. He's been able to break on routes and make more plays against those bigger body guys. So I love that matchup, and it's not even a knock on Brown. It's just that body type is what Diggs plays well against. So I love that matchup. I actually like this question, because that's the opposite side of it. Well, if you have Diggs on Brown, which, to be clear, they're not going to do completely, or not Diggs on Brown. Yeah, AJ Brown, sorry. They're not going to do that because we don't play man, and we don't have our corners travel a ton. We play man, but we're not a man-heavy team. We play more zone than man this year. Last year we were more man-heavy, but this year's been more zone-heavy. And our cornerbacks aren't traveling from side to side a ton. So we're going to see some different matchups. But I actually really like Anthony Brown versus Smith. I think the opposite's true for Brown. A lot of the receivers that have beaten him are those bigger guys. So they kind of like are nice yin and yang there. Because Brown is a fast guy. He was a 4.3 guy in college. So that's kind of fits into what he does. Jordan Lewis is the one I'm not sure about there. Because Jordan Lewis, being a small slot corner, he has to face those guys all the time. However, Smith is a small, fast, shifty guy, but he's also a 4.3 guy. So I don't know how I feel about that one. I think I actually would rather Anthony Brown cover Devontae Smith, but we're going to see different matchups anyways. The one thing the Eagles don't do, though, is they're not going to air the ball out a ton. And if they do, it's more than likely going to be a shot to A.J. Brown. So that's worth noting. Anything there from you guys?
No, I mean I agree with everything you said. It's not going to be a lot of passing in general, unless they get a lot of downfield passing, unless they get desperate, which I'm sure they're hoping that doesn't happen. So,
all right, another topic I want to talk with you guys about, because I think it's probably the single most important matchup of the game. If you guys disagree, feel free to tell me what you think the most important matchup is. But the Eagles' defensive line versus the Cowboys' offensive line. So we may or may not have Jason Peters starting, but he is going to be healthy and playing. At least that's what the indications look like. Tyler Smith has seen some things. He's had a little cup of coffee in the NFL and is learning on the fly and done as well as you could possibly ask somebody to do, taking over at left tackle when you didn't even practice that in training camp. How do you guys feel about the Eagles' defensive line versus the Cowboys' offensive line?
I do think it is a big test. But I think they're ready for it, honestly. I really do. I think we can definitely overcome, especially knowing that Jason Peters is back. I haven't really fully fleshed it out yet, because I haven't fully watched all of their games and their full defense. But I genuinely think that they're probably slightly overrated, and I think we can do things to counteract what they're going to try to do to us.
What about you, Spoonie? How are you feeling about it?
For me, listen, the Eagles' front four has always been very solid. Just the change this year is at the linebacker where they got TJ Edwards and Hassan Reddick, who's playing good football at linebacker, but their front four has always been solid. Again, we spoke about Jordan Davis a couple of, at least in the last hour, how well he played last week. We're playing 29 snaps, and very great response. We got Fletcher Cox. Fletcher Cox, he may not be the same All-Pro he was once, but he's still very effective in this game. Josh Sweat for them has been their playmaker guy in that front four. When it comes to the matchups, I think Tyler Smith can really hold it down. I mean, he has faced way better guys. We saw last week with Aaron Donald, the best in the NFL right now. But guys like Trey Hendrickson with the Bengals, guys like I believe it was Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams with the New York Giant game. So I believe Tyler Smith can hold this down. When it comes to the guard position, how much snaps we're gonna give Jason Peters? He knows these guys, just like you pointed out earlier, Professor, where he could definitely tell the other linemen what each player likes to do, little techniques to maybe, take advantage of. Tyler Biadasz has been playing fine. He's been playing very, very well. So that's one part about it to hold up. And, Terrence Steele, we know Zach Martin. Zach Martin's been our All-Pro forever. So I think we can hold up. The key thing is for us to utilize the running game, so there's no we can stop the rush from getting to Cooper Rush and set the edge. Use Tony Pollard more at the edge a lot more, just to get him out of sync, and we'll be fine.
Yeah, I think if you look at how the Cowboys' offensive line's fared, you did a great job mentioning some of those big names we faced. Washington had the toughest defensive line we've played so far, because they have those big two defensive tackles in the interior. They have Montez Sweat. What's his name? Defensive end. Chase Young's out. The other defensive end.
They do have Montez Sweat, don't they? Don't they have Montez Sweat? Isn't it Montez Sweat? I thought it was Montez Sweat.
Yeah, it's Montez Sweat. Washington. Yeah, Montez Sweat.
Yeah, okay, so Montez Sweat. So they have three first-round defensive linemen. So they have a very tough defensive line. So we have faced a defensive line like this. The difference between that and Philly is Philly's a little bit deeper with the interior, because they have the quote-unquote big two with Fletcher Cox and Jordan Davis, but they also have Jason Hargrave as well. So they have three legit defensive tackles. Then outside of that, they have guys like Ernest Graham,
right?
Brandon Graham.
Mm-hmm.
So the Eagles have probably a little bit deeper defensive line, and then Hassan Reddick is a name that we haven't mentioned yet on the show, and he's working.
And he's better than Micah Parsons. He's
better than Micah Parsons if you ask the Eagles content creators. But they have a lot of players on their defensive line So it's definitely the biggest challenge our offensive line's faced. But to be fair, we haven't faced bums all year. We faced good edge rushers. We faced the best defensive player in the NFL last week. Tyler Smith did lose early on, but the second half we made some adjustments and we were just fine. We've had on our offensive line on the right side, Terrence Steele has had a really, really good year. Week 1, there were some concerns about the penalties, getting 3. Outside of that, what game has Terrence Steele struggled in?
Yeah.
Run blocking and pass pro. He's been really good all year.
Yeah.
Tyler Smith, aside from the 2 sacks and a little bit of struggles week 1, which is what we expected anyways, he's been really good.
Right.
Our center, Tyler Biotis, has made improvements this year. Zach Martin is still Zach Martin. Now he's not the all-pro version of him, but he's still a very, very good right guard. Left guard, last week, Connor McGovern came back. He was just fine. Didn't have any issues with him last week.
Yeah.
Now we have Jason Peters back. So I think overall that's going to be probably one of the more intriguing aspects of this game is how our offensive line does versus their defensive line and then vice versa. Because our defensive line, we already know what we have to offer and we know that they have some injury concerns of their own. So I think that's really going to ultimately be the story of the game is who wins in the trenches. It's probably going to be the outcome of that.
And it was, again, what I can't stand. Don't get me wrong, Hassan Reddick is a very good player, but if he was a Micah Parsons, he wouldn't be in Philly. He was where he was drafted as number 1. Number 2, comparing
13.
Yeah, right. And no disrespect. Again, respectfully, I say this respectfully. Comparing Hassan Reddick to Micah Parsons is like comparing a shoe in Payless to a shoe at Flight Club. Let's just be honest.
What is Flight Club? What is that?
I'm sorry. In New York, Flight Club is full of nothing but name brand sneakers over $200.
Oh, so Jordans. Or
exactly. Jordans, all kind of exotic sneakers that are like worth $500. Hey, Professor, you're a sneaker person. You're a sneaker person. You know what I'm talking about with that. So again, stop with the Hassan Reddick comparisons. We're not trying to laugh as hard as we want to yet. Not yet. Come on.
Well, that's one of those things too. Like if you just look stat for stat, you can compare a lot of guys, right? There, you can compare. You can say Cooper Rush over a 4-week span versus Tom Brady over a specific 4-week period of their careers. Cooper Rush was right there with him. Obviously, that's not saying he's the same impact player or the same caliber player, but you can do that from a statistical standpoint with basically anything. So what they did was they said, okay, well, Parsons had 13.5 sacks and Reddick had 12.5 or whatever it was. And then Parsons had this many tackles for loss and Reddick had that. So they're basically the same type of player. It's just not true. It's just not. Like that's
not true.
You can take current quarterbacks. You could take Daniel Jones stats, speaking of names, and compare him to Jalen Hurts in terms of passing touchdowns, completion percentage, rushing yards. And then if you ask Eagles fans, they're gonna be like, no, it's Daniel Jones. I'm like, yeah, but stats say they're the same guy. That's what you did with Micah Parsons and Reddick. So, but I say all that to say Reddick is a very good player.
Yes,
he's not Micah Parsons.
Yes, he is.
He's very good. Yeah, but he's not Micah Parsons. Let's stop.
We're gonna get out of here pretty soon. I got 3 questions. I'm gonna ask the chat and the panel, and then we're gonna end it. So first question is, what's your bold prediction for this game? Now we've been close. We've been really close. We called the block punt. We called a block punt. They blocked the field goal. We called a fake punt, and our opponent's fake punted. So we haven't hit on special teams yet, but we've been really close. Do you guys have a bold prediction for this week? It could be a player that explodes and has a big day or somebody making a huge impact. We'll start with Mary. What's your bold prediction for this week? Chat, let me know what you guys have to say.
I wanted to say a TC rookie linebacker. I think you're talking about Nakobe Dean. Yeah. I don't think he's played yet.
Nope. He's played like 5 snaps or something like that.
Yeah. My bold prediction for this game on either side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
I need 1 second. I'll make sure of this. Hold on. This is a good one.
3 turnovers on defense.
Okay.
3.
Hold on.
I don't know how they're going to happen, but it's going to be 3.
I need you to call your shot, though. So at least one of them. Give me somebody who's going to get an interception or forced fumble or whatever.
Okay, I think there's going to be at least 2 interceptions. One's going to be by Trayvon Diggs. One's going to be by Jaron Curse. And a forced fumble. Quinn Bohanna.
Quinn Bohanna, I like it. I was thinking you're going to go with Tank or Doris Armstrong since those.
I was this
two.
close. But I think Bohanna got it.
All right, so we got a Bohanna, forced fumble, and your interceptions from Diggs and who else?
Curse.
Diggs and Curse. All right, cool. Mary got 3 takeaways as her bold prediction. Spoonie, what about you?
All right, my first bold prediction: the Cowboys team break the NFL all-sack record in the game. The highest right now is the Eagles with 14. Every team
in one game
has went 12 in one game. The Eagles did it in 1952. The Cowboys did it in 1985 with 12. My bold prediction: the Cowboys get 15 sacks in this game. Break the damn record.
I should have let Spoonie go last because now my bold prediction, whatever it is not going to be bold enough.
Oh,
so
God,
Spoonie.
if that happens, Lord, you don't even want to know.
I mean, Eagles got 9. They got 9 against the Cardinals. It can happen. You never know.
So we made Mary call her shot. You don't have to give me all 14 accounted for, but who has the most sacks out of that number?
All right, the most sacks, I'm going to be honest, the most sacks, in my opinion, I really do think is going to be Dante Fowler in this game. Between Fowler's and
breakout game. Okay.
Yeah. I really do think Fowler's going to be the one with the most sacks in this game here.
Ooh, that's interesting.
All right.
Yeah.
So our guy Gregory, shout out to Gregory. Thanks for rocking with us as always. Says Lamb gets 2 touchdowns. I like that one. Our guy Mendoza saying Hendershot is going to have a breakout game. The Hive will be live.
May I give you one more?
Spoonie, go ahead. What other prediction you got for us?
I predict that Zeke and Pollard will both have 100 yards this game apiece.
Zeke and Pollard both have 100 yards.
That's possible, definitely.
Yeah.
So the Eagles, for context there, they have given up 5 yards per carry. Teams haven't run on them a ton, only 105 attempts, but they have given up 5 yards per carry. So there is some validity to that one. Bold prediction from our guy Outlaw is Diggs gets a pick 6 and Gallup with a 40-plus yard touchdown.
Ooh, I like that.
And then TC915 says defense gets another score. TC, let us know. Call your shot. Let us know who's going to score. We'll give you credit even if they do get a score, but it's just fun to throw a little extra into there. Gregory with a second prediction that Law gets 3 sacks.
I like that.
And then TC says Micah gets 3 sacks, all of them on Lane, who hasn't given up a sack in like a year and a half. So that would be great.
That would be amazing.
I went bold on special teams, and it's bit me. I called the block punt. They got a block field goal, so that was good. I called the fake punt. They fake punted on us. So I'm going to stick away. I'm going to stay away from special teams because I've been close, but it's near misses.
Close.
You've
been close.
Near misses for me. I'm going to go with. I like the idea of the pick sixes. We're getting a lot of that there. That's the channel name. Micah gets a pick 6. Brown gets the pick 6. I like that one a lot. I like Brown getting a pick 6 a lot. I'm going to go with Malik Hooker. Got an interception last week. I think this is the game. I think he's going to jump route and get a pick 6 this week. So I'm going to go with that. And then Debo kind of wrapping up things. Oh, so we have 2 more. Turpentine TD. So we have 2 right now back to back. Does a repeat and gets 2 return touchdowns.
Damn,
and then
beautiful.
Debo also agrees he's going to get a return touchdown.
So how that brings me to the question of how has the Eagles special teams been? I don't know much about.
They've had some kicking issues. Their kicker Jake Elliott was injured
too.
Yeah. So they had Dicker the kicker, a guy that Cowboys fans are familiar with, who kicked last week, and he kicked 2 field goals that were big for them. So there's a little bit of issues there. They have a good punter. I honestly don't know how they are in punt coverage. I can't tell you.
Okay, interesting.
Last prediction, and then we'll move on to the last topic is, or sorry, two more topics. Mr. Cowboy 88 says Barr with the pick 6 and a sack fumble for a scoop and score. So that'd be a huge game for him. And if he's spying, he could do both of those things. He could jump a screen and sack Jalen and pick it up and score later on. So next prediction is player of the game. Who's it going to be? We're going to start with Spoon this time. Who's your player of the game?
Player of the game is going to be Cooper Rush.
No, it can't be. It can't be, Spoonie, because you just told me the Cowboys broke the team record with sacks.
Oh yeah,
Fowler led the way, so it's got to be Fowler.
But our offensive side, he 3 touchdowns now.
All right.
But now this play of the game, it was if I'm gonna match my sack record, it's Dante Fowler. It has to be Dante
Ooh.
Fowler. I think Fowler will go crazy this game.
All right, Mary, who you got?
You know, I mean, it sounds too easy, but I'm gonna go Micah Parsons.
Michael Parsons, TC915's with you.
Yeah.
Got a Donovan Wilson. This is probably going to be the player of the game for the Cowboys, Brett Maher.
Hey,
You're probably not wrong, Debo. I'm going to go with Tank. I'm going to go with DeMarcus
Oh,
Lawrence.
it's a good one.
He's had a really good year so far in terms of not just being an elite run stopper, but also getting a lot of pressures, also getting sacks. One thing the Eagles like to do is screens, which are extended runs. He's done a really good job of sniffing those out and making plays. He's almost intercepted one of those this year. He did intercept one of those last year. So keep an eye on that, maybe being a factor. But they like to run the ball. They like to get Hurts in space. Those things lead into what Tank does well, because I think they're going to try to run away from Parsons, which means running towards Tank. So I'm going to go with Tank as my defensive player of the game,
Good point.
overall player of the game.
You know what's special about Tank this year? It reminds me a while back with Michael Strahan and OCU Manoa. When was that young guy coming in there, it elevated Strahan's game because he wanted to still show I got it just like the young man. And you see that with Tank and Michael Parsons now. Tank is like, I still got it too. So I'm loving that. They're feeding off each other.
So the chat, really, we got Donovan Wilson, Micah Parsons, and Brett Maher. So and we have one from Michael Gallup. So
Donovan Wilson. Did you mention him?
I did. Yeah, let's
Okay.
him again, Dono. So
Okay.
everyone thinks Dono's going to have a big game. And if he's the guy who's spying Jalen, he very well could be the player of the game.
Right.
All right, cool. So we got the players of the game out of the way. We got our bold prediction. It's time to get our scores, and then we will wrap it up. Unless Spoonie has a sermon, we can do that tonight, or we can save it for Friday when Nix is here with us. Do you want to save it for Friday so we can do it with Nix?
Sure, we can do that.
All right, cool. So let's do our score predictions. Been on for just under an hour and a half, so we'll wrap it up early since Nix isn't here. Mary, score prediction. What's it going to be?
24-19. Cowboys.
That's bad news, guys. When Mary picks the opponent, it's good for us. When Mary picks the Cowboys, we don't know. So I like it. So 24-19, Cowboys win. Cool. So we're 5-1 heading into next weekend. Spoonie, what you got?
I got 40-14.
Oh, Lord.
I'm serious.
I mean,
Listen,
keep in mind, if we're getting 14 sacks, we're probably going to get a lot of takeaways. 40.
A 40 burger is gonna come. It has to.
If
come.
we get that many sacks, he's not gonna make it through the game. He's not.
Points.
Jalen Hurts is not gonna make it through the game if we get 15 sacks.
All right, so Spoonie with the blowout, Mary with the
blowout.
Probably more realistic score, but Spoonie's could be. Well, hopefully, we all hope Spoonie's right. Debo, 17-14. Ugly defensive struggle. Dallas winning. Mendoza, going with my heart again. 19-17 Cowboys. Proved my head wrong. So he went with his heart, not his head. Dizzle, our guy Bruce. First team to 20 points wins. Probably accurate. Outlaw, 21-13. Gregory, 24-17 Dallas. Oh, gotta get rid of this in the chat real quick. Cool. Thanks, bots, for showing up. TC915, 16-13. Dicker's gonna miss a 51-yard to tie the game late. I like that, guys. If you haven't noticed this about me, I like the bold, not only the prediction, but take it one step further and call your shot on what's going to happen. So he called not only a missed field goal, but a 51-yarder. Love that one.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is going to be what a lot of the guys and folks in the chat have been saying. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game.
Who let a bot in here from Tinder Hot Best Adult Dating Site?
That's just, that's what happens when you keep mentioning Fletcher Cox over and over again. You get
and Dicker
and Cox, and suddenly the bots show up. So I'm going to go with a low-scoring game too. I do think it's going to be. I'm going to go 24-21. Feels right, and I think Maher's going to. I like TC915's idea on Dicker missing. I think Maher's going to be the hero. Thinking a tight game. He's going to kick a field goal to win us the game. You said 51 yards. I'm going to go with a 57-yard field goal by Maher to take the lead. And the Cowboys defense holds, shuts them down on 4th down. Hurts does an incomplete pass. Cowboys win and are 5-1 heading into next week. Nick's gave us this prediction earlier for those who weren't here. I don't remember the score, so run it back. I think it was like 16-13 Eagles or something like that.
Yeah. No, he said 13-9 Eagles.
13-9 Eagles. All right, so that's what Nick said. Yeah, Cox, Josh Ball, Dicker. So there's a whole bunch of stuff just inviting the bots. And then got one more thing right here. We got 27-10 by our guy Tyrone. Tyrone, great to see you. And then we got a score prediction change. 21-16 Cowboys. Gallup with the walk-off TD.
Nice.
Chat, this has been a great show. Appreciate you guys rocking with us. Nick's will be back in Texas for the show Friday. He had some Applebee's issues where the GM was like, no, you can't record here. So he had to hop off early. But we appreciate you guys rocking with us.
Yeah.
Mary, Spoonie, see you guys Friday. Go Cowboys. We'll catch you guys next time.